Hello, Daisy Heads. I am wishing you all a very happy belated New Year. So my Fortnite Duos partner, my very best friend, and the reason that I got into collecting Transformers to begin with, full legal name, Eli from Twitter, suggested that I do a top 10 figures of 2024 list. And I thought maybe I could do that as a Twitter thread, but I decided I would like to do that as a video because maybe there's a distant future where I get into talking about Transformers on YouTube or something like that. Anyway, so this is my top 10 figures of 2024 list. This is figures that I started collecting in 2024, less so figures that released in 2024. I think a couple of these are going to be a few years old. And this is not one of them. This is just the very, very first figure that started my collection. It sucks. It's horrible. So we don't need that. Coming in at number 10, and this is in no particular order to be clear, but as a direct upgrade to this shitty Elita 1 from the EarthSpark cartoon series, this is Legacy Deluxe Class Elita 1, who was actually also one of my first figures, one of my first proper figures after the EarthSpark one, which is sort of meant for preschoolers. This one has a more expressive range of articulation, a more complex transformation, and a higher price point. So this is Elita 1. She is one of my favorites that I have, hence why she's in the list. I really like the colors going on here. I don't have my RC handy, but I like the differences in their pinks. She has a much more kind of like warm pink, whereas RC has like a bubblegum pink. She comes with these transparent blue blasters, which I think are really cool. They are actually different in their sculpting, so that's fun and unique. Like a lot of the Transformers women, she is a shell former, which is to say that she has entirely too much backpack, and maybe 70% of the car mode is stored in this backpack as opposed to within parts of her body. I have found a lot of joy in giving her Springer, 86 Springer sword, because I like how the blue looks with her. I like how she looks with the melee weapon. I'll pop that on her real quick. I'm not going to go ahead and transform most of these guys unless I think their alt mode is particularly noteworthy. I'm just going to show you my favorite guys. So articulation-wise, she's very expressive IMO. I really like what they got going on here for just a deluxe class, especially a smaller scale deluxe class. She was one of my first Transformers, and I am so stoked that I get to continue to have her in my collection. Next up, I have Windblade, who is another Legacy Deluxe class. I believe she did actually come out within 2024. She was one of my earlier figures as well, actually. She did not come with Chromia. Chromia is just here for a set dressing. I will remove Windblade from Chromia. She was eventually repainted into the Seeker Slipstream, which I think I understand why, although I'm a little bit less pleased with that mold, so I have not purchased it yet. I like Windblade because she is, just like Elita, surprisingly expressive for a deluxe class Transformer, especially one that is a woman, because Hasbro is not particularly fond of giving them quality figures. I like her sword. She can kind of like hold it with both hands in a way that I really enjoy, although I don't think I'm going to be able to get that out of her right now. I like that she is a flying Autobot. I think that that's a pretty rare and untapped market. I'm missing one of her little headpieces here because I accidentally threw it away in the packaging. I didn't notice it. It's very small. It's like a little golden headband, which really does bring the whole look together, I think. So it's unfortunate that I'm missing that. I've noticed a weird little quality issue. She's kind of like starting to, I don't know what's going on inside of her cockpit. At first I thought it was mold, but I think it's just like, I really don't know. It wasn't there when I first got her. But it's starting to peel back and there's like some weird something going on in there. Maybe it's glue? I'm really not sure. But all in all, I do enjoy her. I think her wings are a bit hollow, but that's me being nitpicky for a deluxe figure. Okay, next up, so I have Legacy United Voyager class Cybertron Starscream. This guy is from the early 2000s cartoon. Not something I grew up with, not a property I'm particularly fond of today, but I really do like the way that this toy came out. I enjoy the height. I enjoy the, like, posability. Like, you get some really killer articulation out of this guy that you don't in a lot of other Voyagers. Like, he has butterfly joints, so his arms can do that. He even has, like, you can pull his shoulders apart to kind of get additional clearance here, which is really rad. He has a shitload of 5mm ports all over him, so you can attach various additional accessories or armorizer pieces. You can also move these around, which are intended to go up here and act as sort of like the G1 silhouette, like wings. But I really like them on the forearms because they have built-in swords, and I think that he can kind of get a little bit more posability and play value out of putting them here compared to up here where, you know, it's a little bit tricky to, like, aim them because they are on his biceps rather than his forearms. I also really enjoy positioning his wings like this. I think in the show, and as is intended, they're supposed to go down with the red paint facing inward, but I think that you just don't get a lot of, like, expressiveness out of that. And of course, if you're moving the wings down to the forearms, I think that putting the back fins like this kind of helps preserve the illusion of having wings coming out of his back, which is a Starscream staple, IMO. So this guy's lacking a little bit in, like, traditional Starscream tropes, but I really fuck with the figure. I love how expressive it is. One little nitpick for me, this is just like a quality control thing. I don't even think it's going to come through on the camera, but right here, there's a pretty insignificant, although impactful, crack in his, like, foot hinge. It doesn't affect his articulation at all. It's very sturdy. It feels perfectly fine, but it actually impedes his transformation because there's a bit where you need to fold his feet down, and it sticks a lot better on this side because it has the hinge intact, and on this side it sort of tends to, like, spring back into place, so you can't clasp these together as you're intended to, which is a little bit unfortunate. I thought about buying a new one, but I understand that this upcoming year there's going to be a repaint of him as Skywarp, who is actually my favorite Seeker, so I think I'll just hold out for that. Okay, so next up we have Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Deluxe Class Bumblebee. I really like this little guy. He's very small. I think, here, I can bring Starscream back over to give a sense of scale here. He's not even the smallest guy on the list here. He's one of the taller bumblebees that I own, but I still think he's very, very cute, very, very stout, rotund little boy. And he's actually very important to me. He's special to me in a sense because when I was a kid, my first introduction to Transformers was the Michael Bay 2007 movie, and my first introduction to the Transformers toy line was the Deluxe Class 2007 Bumblebee from that movie, who had the same kind of, like, Camaro alt mode with the chest piece here with the folded up headlights. It's a very similar kind of design, although this one from Rise of the Beasts 2023 is a little bit simplified in some ways. The Michael Bay designs are very cluttered in a way that this Bumblebee is not. So I actually really like this interpretation more. I like the figure more, its posability, its transformation. But the general concept of a 70s Camaro Bumblebee is very near and dear to my heart. So I like this guy a lot, just like with Starscream, unfortunately, and we're going to see this a little bit moving forward, some interesting quality control issues. I got him on clearance, which is really sick. He also has a really wonderful face paint. I understand that the first wave of this particular figure had a severely lacking, like, paint in the face to the point that it was kind of just the blue eyes and a little bit of silver on the little mouthpiece there, and otherwise that was pretty much it. So he kind of looked cheap. He did not have a very accurate or expressive face. Okay, so this just came undone. So this is actually the bit that I was talking about. Whatever pin or screw here is just not secure enough. So this does not stick into place like it's supposed to. It just kind of flops around. It stays, it doesn't come off. I even tried to, like, pull it off, and it takes a lot of effort to do so. So it's secure enough. It doesn't impede the transformation, but I don't like how wobbly it is. You can kind of push it into place, but it's not the pin doing the work. It's kind of the shape of the of the tires connecting bit. I don't know what that would be called, but it's fine over here. Like, this one's perfectly sturdy. It's fine. The pin is secure. Otherwise, yeah, he's really cool. I wish that they had painted his blade. I think other versions of the Knightverse Bumblebee, who also have the blade, do have it painted silver here. I would have liked to see this wonderful silver applied to the blade. I guess that's easy to do, like, on your own, but, you know, these toys are kind of expensive, and it would be cool to get a quality piece without having to customize them, you know? He has this little blaster here. It's actually really clever. It's just a piece that slides into his hand, but it really gives the illusion of a transformed forearm. I like him very much. I think he's very cute, and yeah. Keeping up with the trend of taller and grittier Bumblebee-like designs, this is the Legacy United Prime Universe Cliffjumper. He was locked behind an $80 4-pack, of which the other 3 figures did not particularly interest me, so that's really unfortunate, but Cliffjumper is my favorite character, and I'm stoked that we got a new Cliffjumper this year. There was also the War for Cybertron Gamer Edition Cliffjumper, who I really do enjoy, but I don't think I consider him a top 10. In fact, this guy was even a close call, but I just really like Cliffjumper, and I think that this figure and this particular mold is actually really solid. I like it better on him than I do on Chase, who is a cop from the Rescue Bots show. I think he was the first use of the mold, and then this was a repaint of him, and I do think that Cliffjumper rocks it a lot better. So yeah, he's a fun character. I don't really care for Prime Cliffjumper's design, nor his celebrity voice. He only lasts maybe 1 episode anyway, but it's nice to get a toy of him. I actually do like this interpretation of that design more than the, like, dedicated Prime toys, where he is designed a little bit differently. He transforms into loosely a Dodge Charger, which is very appropriate for Cliffjumper. I think his face is a little bit not my favorite. He sort of shares some design cues with that War for Cybertron toy that I mentioned. And I just don't love that. I really would like to get my hands on a G1 Cliffjumper at some point. But yeah, he's fun. I like him a lot. His articulation leaves you wanting a little bit, but he is a deluxe class toy. His shins like to come undone when I try and bend his legs, which is also unfortunate. But I really can't complain too much because I love Cliffjumper. I love this interpretation of Cliffjumper, and I spent a lot on him, so I suppose I feel biased towards him in an effort to justify the value, yeah? Anyway, he's pretty lovely. He's a charming little fella, and he played the role of Joseph in my Christmas nativity scene, so, you know. Okay, so next up we have the Studio Series Bumblebee movie universe, Skywarp. He is a Voyager class figure. He is honestly a really impressive design to me. This is my first romp with this particular mold, although he is the last of several repaints. I believe there was also Thrust, Starscream, Thundercracker, and Blitzwing. Blitzwing was a little bit different, but generally they all have the same kind of mold. It's a very G1 inspired look with like a live action grittiness to it. I think it's really fun. He has this kind of like flight mask looking head that gets like an insane like upwards bend, which is really fun because I feel like it's not a point of articulation that I particularly need in my Transformers, but also none of them get it. So it's just sort of noteworthy that he can look entirely two up. The one thing that I don't really like about this guy, he doesn't have rotating wrists. He has, like, wrists that fold away. And I think that that's just, like, for transformation's sake. You see that from time to time, but I really do value a complete set of articulation. Also, his shoulders are a little bit weird here, the way that they, these jet engines or whatever, have to move along with the arms. So sometimes they knock up against like the wings behind them. Speaking of the wings, I don't like the way that they get folded down like this. I prefer to display them folded out on both sides. Gives a lot more of like a G1 look. It is, he gets a really impressive wingspan here, which I actually think is really cool. Although he takes up a ton of space. Speaking of the nativity earlier, he played the role of one of the three wise men. So, you know, we have another celebrity in our presence. Yeah, I like him very much. He has a null ray that I did not include here. Some of these guys are missing their accessories because they all live in a big bin together, and I don't really want to go digging. The null ray, it's really nothing special to me. I don't love it. It doesn't stay in his hands very well. It's whatever. I think some of the accessories here, I left them out because they are not particularly noteworthy. He does have these little guns here that are supposedly also considered null rays. I would have liked it if they were attached to his biceps, just like they are in G1, but that is okay. I like the purples here. I wish there was more black happening because Skywarp is like the black accents of gray and the purple guy, so the purple guy. So he should have some more black in him. In fact, I will pull out my only other Skywarp comparable, and it's the Blockies version, who is dabbing right now. But you see that he is primarily black with just a little bit of the gray and then a very nice pastel purple. I don't mind the intense purple happening here. I like the grays. I like the little uses of black, but there is just not enough of it for me. And that's just as somebody who does not have any other Skywarp figures. So I would like this guy to better represent my ideal image of him. But I like him very much, and yeah. Taking it back to Bumblebee, I think we have the smallest figure in this lineup here. He is the Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class G1 Bumblebee, and oh my god, he is fucking adorable. I've seen people say that he costs too much for how small he is. He is a deluxe class figure, so he costs $25 in the US, which is a lot for how small he is. I can bring out another deluxe. In fact, let me do the other deluxe Bumblebee, who is significantly taller than him, I feel. He's more complex in his transformation, in his accessory count. So this little guy, I like him very much. He is my one and only G1 Bumblebee right now. I think he represents that look very well. The paint matching here, because it's yellow on top of black plastic, is not my favorite. I also don't love the black windshield colors that they went with. I understand why they did it, and I know that there are stickers that you can put over it, but I said it earlier that I don't like having to customize expensive toys like this. I think that they should come with a little bit more thought put into them to begin with. And I know that other G1 Bumblebees have successfully nailed that blue window look. I think that that would have helped him pop a little bit more as like a cartoon accurate version, but he's very lovely. He has a very like penny racer type alt mode that I might actually transform just to show that off, because I think that it's very precious. Okay, so he's transformed. I think that this is just fucking adorable. It's approximating the general look of the Volkswagen Bug that Bumblebee tends to be, although in a more compact and unlicensed, legally distinct kind of way that is reminiscent of the original 80s Penny Racer toy. I think it's really cute. I think you probably even could put a penny here if you wanted to, although, you know, it wouldn't bear the same functionality. One little complaint that I have about this, it's very cute. I like how it rolls. Mine doesn't come together quite as snugly as I'd like it to. I'm confident that I'm doing everything correctly. And it does come together and then just kind of pops out. And then if you get it too tight, stuff in the back will start to come undone. It's really not a huge deal because the look is there. And the alt modes are not like my favorite parts of the toys. I think that they are a little bit less important to me, generally speaking. But, you know, it's the same thing I mentioned earlier, that just like at the budget, you want it to, you know, you want it to be good. I have a lot of beef with Hasbro's quality control. There's figures that didn't make this list that had very egregious issues with some of their tolerances, paint applications, and whatnot. So I'm very critical of anything that's just a little bit amiss. Anyway, there's a very clever bit with this Autobot insignia where it kind of disappears into the feet and then comes out for the car mode. And of course, that's accurate to the show. And I think that that's very cute and very well engineered. This really is a wonderful figure. And I mean, clearly it's on my list. Okay, so next up, I have the Leader Class G2 inspired Grimlock figure. He uses the Studio Series 86 mold, which I do not have the pleasure of owning quite yet, although he's being re-released in this next year. So I may purchase that because I really, really like this mold. I really, really like this figure. I like how his dinosaur mode comes together. He's a little bit too big for the framing that I have going on here, which I kind of anticipated would be the issue. But he has a very fun, like, color scheme. G2 was all about wacky recolors and things like that, and I think that this is a really lovely and pleasant personification of that design trope where he is a neon blue and yellow robot Tyrannosaurus Rex. I mean, that's cool as fuck. He has these tiger stripes down the that's the legs in robot mode, but the tail in dino mode. I think that's really lovely. It has like a nice like metallic sheen to it. That's true of what would be his chest piece as well, which is really cool. You sort of lose that going into like the arms and the little claws here, the hinges on the back, but that's really not a big deal to me. You do get it back in the eyes. Yeah, he's really cool. His mouth opens, he gets like there's a little thing here where you could put like a blast effect, but I have very few of those because for some reason, they're really hard to come by unless you're buying incredibly expensive figures, which is a bit unfortunate. Yeah, he's really cool. I'm going to throw him into robot mode real quick because I think that that's another important mode for him that does stand out to me. Yeah, and I will see you in just a moment. Okay, and he's back. I think that this big old boy is just so charming, so wonderful. I love Grimlock as a character. This is currently my only Grimlock representation in my collection, so I'm very fond of him. I like, like the silver going on here. Again, I really enjoy that kind of metallic blue that's happening here as well. He gets this nice transparent piece here. I think it just comes together very nicely. I think some of the colors even come through a little bit better in the robot mode compared to the dino mode, such as this like kind of magenta like Speedo he's got going on. I think that this is just a really lovely and whimsical color scheme for a very lovely and whimsical character. He is enormous as well, which is really fun to me. He is currently the biggest Transformer in my collection, even towering over the incredibly expensive Optimus Prime that we will see very soon. Yeah, he's wonderful. He was also one of my earlier finds. I got him on clearance for $25, which is really just fantastic. He would normally retail for about $55. From time to time, I still see him on clearance at Walmart's in particular. So I think that that's just wonderful that he's so accessible. I cannot imagine why he would be unpopular enough to end up on a shelf-warming clearance for so long because, I mean, he is just such a friend. I love him so much. He also has this, like, sick double-barrel shotgun that most Grimlocks come with. It would have been cool if that came in, like, a fun color, as well as maybe if he included his sword. I think G2 Grimlock, the figure that this is emulating, did not have those qualities, but, that's just me being wishful and having no attachment to the original toy line. So this is what I'm going off of, and I think that, there are just a few things that they could have done to make it all the more special. In any case, he is very high on my list. He's very near and dear to me, and he's my favorite Dinobot thus far. So up next, we've got the Studio Series Bumblebee movie concept art Leader Class Megatron. This guy, he was very elusive for quite some time, and I managed to snag him pretty early into his shelf life, which is really fantastic. It was quite a surprise. I wasn't expecting to find him, and he was just behind all the other boxes. So I picked him up. His alt modes are somewhat of an afterthought. He's a triple changer, which is very intriguing for Megatron. I think fitting as well. He transforms into a tank and some sort of jet that more so resembles a large laser beak kind of bird. And again, they are absolutely an afterthought. Like, it's very clear that it's just a guy crunched up into vehicle-shaped shapes. But as an action figure, holy shit, this guy's amazing. His cannon is interesting. His expressiveness is just off the charts. I mean, he's got the butterfly joints. He has articulated fingers on 2 different joints. So, you can get some really interesting and dynamic poses out of him. He can point. He gets quite the bend at the arms. He has a rotation here and here. He has, if you move these out of the way, he's got killer, like, leg clearance. Very wonderful stuff. I love the metallic silver happening here. I love the jet black Decepticon emblem. I think that that's very inspired. I think normally it would be a purple or maybe a pink. So this is wonderful. I really like that look on him. His face is a little bit incoherent, but, you know, that is what the concept art depicted. He's still got, like, that Megatron kind of helmet shape. This is currently the only Megatron in my collection, and he honestly pulls a lot of weight for what he is. He scales pretty well next to the aforementioned expensive Prime that we will be seeing, which is really great because so far we have no news on the dedicated Megatron to go with said Prime. But yeah, he's wonderful. I cannot recommend him enough, especially just as a figure. His posability, fantastic for a Transformer. His alt modes, not particularly important to me. Just a little detail that I want to point out here. I really love these, like, sculpted rivets here. That's just wonderful. And just to hit you with a very, very, very quick honorable mention round, I really did enjoy Studio Series Gamer Edition, War for Cybertron, Voyager class, Optimus Prime, and the Legacy United Voyager class, Vector Prime. I think that they were both very wonderful toys. Vector Prime has articulated hands, which I am a very big fan of. He's very expressive. I really like the colors going on here. I think this is a much better use of the mold compared to G-Axis, who did pioneer the mold. He has a very, like, curious little cape thing going on back here. Looks okay from the front. Can be used as, like, a makeshift, like, stand. But I really don't like them. I do tear them off more often than not. He has a sword, which is cool as hell. It's got this, like, glossy kind of, like, shiny casting to it. The reason he did not make it into the actual top 10, I think I just kind of liked other guys better. I also was really disappointed by the quality control on this guy. Basically, everything is entirely too loose. Like, his shoulder pads fall apart. His head doesn't clip into place, so it's just loosey-goosey like that. His transformation is impossible to complete because there's some essential components that don't clip into place. These parts come undone on his calves. His feet are, like, sticky. Not like sugar sticky, just, like, they don't move the way that you'd like them to. And at a certain point, you start to, like I can hear something creaking in here, which is not ideal. I like him very much, but, oh God, and these things just don't stay on. They are horrible. But I like him very much. He's very cool. He has a cool look to him. He's from the same show as that Starscream, which I, you know, was not a fan of. I don't like most of the designs, but this guy knocks it out of the park. And then we have the video game Optimus Prime, a video game that I did not play and a video game for whose designs I'm not the biggest fan of. That said, this is a really solid figure. I did not expect it to knock me out of the park the way that it did. It's got a lot of, like, hollow bits and, like, the thighs and, you know, in here. His elbows are a little bit too low for my liking, so he's got these kind of, like, lengthy gorilla arms. But he has a big-ass axe. I really like the, like, unique head sculpt with the really lengthy antenna. He also has a matrix chamber, which has a beautiful sculpt job inside, as well as a very cool stylized matrix. I like him quite a bit. He is surprisingly posable for such a bulky fella at a pretty low manufacturing, like, standard of quality, I feel. A lot of the Gamer Edition figures have this, like, very thin and really weird plastic. I don't care for most of them, but he's really solid. And again, his axe is really neat. So I like him a lot, but I don't think he's top 10 material. And last, but certainly not least, we have the Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime. This is the Optimus Prime from the 1986 animated movie, and oh my God, what a wonderful fucking figure. So he does retail for $90 US, which is incredibly steep. He does come with his truck trailer as well as like the little roller inside and this little like utility drone that goes on top of the roller and does like unfold and do interesting things. And that's all fun, and it sort of inflates the value a little bit. I do not have that trailer or the roller right now because they are both serving the role of barn and manger, respectively, in the nativity scene that I have not taken down yet. But yeah, so he's quite wonderful. It's probably no surprise that he's on this list. He is dense as fuck. He is incredibly posable. He's sturdy. His paint is wonderful. He has a beautiful head sculpt. He's immediately recognizable as Generation 1 movie Optimus. I love his rubber axe. I love the way that this gun looks, although I could complain about how short the handle is. It pops the fuck out of his hand, which is not great. Another little complaint about him, these smokestacks do not need to be so loosey-goosey. Like, they pop out very easily, but they also just kind of move around a lot. That's really not necessary for the transformation. They also don't get in the way of his posability very much, so it's really weird to me that they are so loose. He has a couple of other minor complaints from me in the sense that, like, there's a step during his transformation where you have to fold his head into his torso along this, like, square, and by golly, that does not pop in the way that they want you to. It really feels like you're going to break him, which is a very scary feeling for a $90 toy. I think he's really wonderful. I think, I hate to nitpick, but again, $90 toy. The articulation is a little bit lacking. He doesn't get any more than this for his arm bend, which I really would have liked to see. He does have the same, like, double-jointed fingers that the Megatron had, which I really value. Any sort of hand articulation in a figure. I think it's really wonderful to see such detailed and expressive articulation here. It's really hard to complain about this guy. As much as he has his flaws, I fucking adore him. Although, one other quality control related issue. So his gun comes with these little blast effects. I did mention that the blast effects tend to only come with really expensive figures. So it goes on the end of his gun. It looks like he's firing it. That's really well and cool. So it comes with 2 of those. My second one, straight out of the packaging, was molded like this. The hole where you attach it is here, and the beam just does not line up with it. You can sort of, melt it in hot water and get it to bend into a more appropriate shape, but the issue is that the base of the beam is just kind of molded way too low. No matter how you spin it, it just kind of looks wrong, which does disappoint me. I mean, there is one that's functional, and that's cool, but, that Hasbro quality control is not ideal. Prime's got some wonderful features, like an opening matrix chamber with the little additional panel that needs to open, like he does in the movie. This is a very frequent reuse of this particular Matrix mold. Doesn't really bother me, although it's strange that he didn't get, like, his own for this. I also wish that they had done some paint with the intricate detailing inside of here. I know why they didn't. It's whatever type of plastic they used needed to be flexible. And it's a hard-to-paint plastic where the paint rubs off very easily, and they didn't want to do that on a $90 toy, so, whatever. I think it's fun that that opens up the way it does. Yeah, gosh, what else is there to say? He really cleans up nicely. I think he's got a fantastic presence and bulk to him. He is large in a way that I really appreciate. He's not taller than Grimlock, so I mentioned Grimlock being bigger than my expensive figures. Yeah, this is the expensive figure in question. He's the same size as the Megatron, so that really works out wonderfully. So there we go. That has been my top 10 Transformers list for the year 2024. It has been a wonderful year of collecting. I've been very stoked and grateful to have gotten into this hobby. I'm having a fantastic time looking out for new toys hitting the market. I have a lot of fun shopping secondhand for them. It really has just, like, enriched my my retail life. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this if you made it this far. It would be really cool to maybe start talking about Transformers more often like this, maybe in a more structured format, maybe with a script or something like that. I think I understand why people do that, but this has been fun, and it's been really nice to get to talk about this very important little hobby of mine. Shout out to Eli from Twitter for encouraging me to make this video and for also being responsible for getting me into this very expensive habit. I'm wishing you all a very, very happy new year. I hope your 2024 was equally full of exciting material purchases. And I hope your year ahead is full of wonderful new experiences for you. This has been Daisy from Twitter, and yeah.